This show is brought to you by Jam Time Machine Radio, the finest of old school black and pop music. Check out www.jamtimemachine.com and listen to non-stop old school black and pop music. Jam Time Machine Radio, more than just music.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today my question is, what is the most important position in the game of basketball? For many opinions, I would say the person who is responsible for bringing the ball up the court. Wouldn't you agree? There are so many different point guard styles in the league, from Russell Westbrook, who is extremely explosive and athletic, to Kyrie Irving, who has some of the best handles in the league. Today's topic is, how good was Chris Paul in his prime? We will take a look at his career and evaluate his prime years in the NBA. Let's get started.
No, now you know. That is Chris Paul, folks.
Chris Paul attended West Forsyth High School in North Carolina. For his first 2 years of high school, he played on the junior varsity team. He then moved up his junior season to the varsity team and averaged 25 points and 5.3 assists per game. His senior season, he scored 61 points in honor of his grandfather, who passed away. He was named a McDonald's All-American at the end of his career, alongside with LeBron James in 2003.
It's gonna look like this all night.
CP signed to play for Wake Forest University. He led them to the NCAA March Madness tournament, but took a loss in the Sweet 16. He received the Rookie of the Year award for the ACC. His sophomore year, Wake Forest was ranked number 1 in the nation for the first time in school history. They made it once again to the tournament, but lost in the second round. After Chris Paul's sophomore year at Wake Forest, he entered the 2005 NBA draft and was drafted 4th overall by the New Orleans Hornets.
In that suit featuring black and gold.
Chris Paul, who was a 6'1" point guard, was a threat right away, leading all rookies in points, assists, steals, and double-doubles. He averaged 16.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, 7.8 assists, and 2.2 steals per game, and received the Rookie of the Year award. Paul didn't receive his first All-Star vote until 2008, but he participated in the 2007 Rookie Challenge game, which is also known now as a Team USA versus Team World game. He set a record with 17 points and 9 steals, and his rise to stardom was just getting started. CP was selected in his first All-Star game in 2008. He led the Hornets to a 56-win season, which was a new franchise record. They were a second seed in the Western Conference, but were eliminated in the second round of the playoffs in 2008. Paul ended up signing a contract extension with the Hornets prior to the 2008-2009 season. He continued to average a double-double, constantly increasing his numbers. Throughout his years with the Hornets, he suffered from multiple injuries that sidelined him for some time on and off. Paul was not happy with the management changes, which caused him to explore his options as a free agent after the 2010-2011 season. In 2011, CP was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. However, the league did not let the trade go through. It was a very controversial trade, and even though the Laker fans loved the idea, it was not possible. A few days later, Paul was successfully traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. This was the beginning of the Lob City era. Chris Paul was never the flashy point guard that people loved to watch, but he was efficient. He made the difference on the floor, being the smart point guard he was. He did all the little things that mattered, and this could not be seen by looking at his stats, although he was averaging a double-double. He brought energy to LA by developing a reputation for his fast-paced transition offense and his spectacular lob passes to high-flying dunkers, DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. The Lakers were usually the favorite team in LA, but fans started to flee towards the Clippers. Paul led his teams to the playoffs for 7 consecutive seasons, but never made a conference finals appearance. With more injuries to come, CP led the Clippers to the playoffs every year until he was traded to the Houston Rockets in 2017. Paul was still battling injuries even after the trade, which caused his numbers to go down a bit. He missed 14 games in the first part of his season with the Rockets. Upon returning from an injury, he began to get back to himself. At the end of the 2017-2018 season, the Rockets were the number 1 seed going into the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. They were eliminated in the Western Conference Finals. In the summer of 2018, Paul signed a $160 million 4-year deal with the Rockets, but he was soon traded to OKC for Westbrook.
Another stop for the Thunder. Paul pushes it into the front court. Now his turn to drive on Arcidiacono, and he scores. Paul.
His career averages are 18.7 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 9.9 assists, and 2.3 steals. Going into his 15th season, Chris Paul is officially a part of the OKC Thunder.
Nerlens Noel, because of plays like that. And the Thunder win the tip, so that's a really good challenge by Billy Donovan. Now they go inside right.
With the current NBA season of 2019-2020 just getting back started, he has played in 63 games and is averaging 17.7 points per game and 6.8 assists.
Gallo for the tie. Possession game. Paul steps into that shot and another huge three from Chris.
And just stood his ground and took the contact in his chest area.
Although he is far from his prime, Chris Paul is 34 years old and still putting up good numbers in the NBA.
Better at recognizing when to drive and when not to. His eyes have dribbled it off of his foot. Now numbers for the Thunder, 2-on-1. The trailer is Baisley right down. Paul on Napier, nifty move, got to the rim.
Now that we've taken a look at his career, when exactly was CP in his prime? I would say that he entered into his prime very early in his career in the 2007-2008 season.
In New Orleans suddenly burst into the race with a brilliant season.
Oh, got it all the way. And their MVP candidate is indeed leading the charge.
Every time the playoffs the past 3 years, the Hornets had a breakthrough season, winning their division and earning the 2nd seed in the West.
His numbers were consistent and the Hornets were on the top for the very first time in franchise history. He was runner-up for MVP after this season, first team All-NBA and All-Defensive Team. In the following season of 2008-2009, Paul recorded a triple-double with 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists, and only a few steals shy of a quadruple-double. In the next season of 2009-2010, things started to slow down as Paul injured his knee, which caused him to miss the All-Star game. He only played in 45 games that season, and the Hornets missed the playoffs. This was the end of his prime, in my opinion. Once the LA trade happened, he was still a great player, but after his knee injury, things were never quite the same. He was once an athletic player, but with all the injuries he sustained over the years, he switched up his playing style. Chris Paul will always be considered one of the best point guards in the league. Injuries just seem to get in the way for him. He's a solid point guard who is a great defender, passer, and loves to play the pick and roll.
LeBron had it poked away from behind. 3-on-1. Paul dumps it off. SGA lays it up. Paul again going up against the two-way player in Kai Bowman. Muscala.
Because of his basic fundamental skills, he has been a very underrated point guard in the league. He has never won an MVP award, nor a title. Another question is, will he ever be an MVP or win an NBA title? After 14 seasons in the NBA, Chris Paul still holds his ground and continues to improve the players around him with his intelligence. How many years do you think he still has left in his tank?
Trying to take the lid off the rim. It's Paul giving the Thunder.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. This concludes today's topic, how good was Chris Paul in his prime? Thanks for checking out today's video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and the button below. See you next time.
This would be a great story for us being back in New Orleans full time and making a run at this thing.
This show is brought to you by Jam Time Machine Radio, the finest of old school black and pop music. Check out www.jamtimemachine.com and listen to non-stop old school black and pop music Jam Time Machine Radio, more than just